We begin the current Daf, Mesechtes Nedarim Daf, Chav Daled. We begin on the bottom of Chav Gimel and Beis, two lines up from the bottom of the Amud, where the Gemara goes back to the halacha of the Mishnah. Again, the title of this parak is Abba Nedarim. The unique thing about this parak is that it talks about four types of Nedarim that are automatically not obligation because it's not considered as a valid neder. We're in the middle of the discussion regarding the Nidri Zeruzin, which are, it's not a real neder, it's just to motivate the guy to do what we want him to do. And we spoke about a case in the previous Mishnah, although in the prior Mishnah we spoke about when you have a seller and a buyer, he said, I'm not going a penny less, not going a penny more, and okay, they didn't really mean it. Our previous Mishnah said the case of Elizabeth and Yaakov. The guy wants a friend to eat by him. You know what? You don't come for a Shabbos Suda, just, you know what? Take a hike, you're forbidden from everything from my stuff. That was Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg's halacha. The Gemara discusses the parameters of Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg's opinion, and if the Chacham disagree with him in this qualification of this case of Nidri Zeruzin. Some of the discussed in today's daf are, if the Chacham disagreed with Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg's halacha, he wants his friend to eat by him, and he's pressing him, and he takes a neder on him. If that's considered Nidri Zeruzin, which Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg says it is, do the Chacham disagree with that or not? And the Gemara in the discussion discusses certain Nedarim that even Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg agrees are not considered Nidri Zeruzin, and would be a valid neder. Then we go to the next Mishnah, which is the next in the category of these four Nedarim, a Nidri Havai, which are these either hyperbolic or this in vain, basically it doesn't really mean anything when he's saying it, where the Ram describes that there's two types of Nidri Havai the Mishnah is going to tell us. One, the Shaykh Beguzma, that it's appropriate to exaggerate. It could be considered true because it's commonly used as an exaggeration of the truth, and the guy actually means what he's saying. Or the Lishach Beguzma, it's a feature that is false inherently, patently, and it cannot be considered an exaggeration of the truth. And both these types of cases are both going to be reasons to permit that, and it's not going to be considered as a neder. And then Mishnah, the Gemara ends off by saying Kishem Shenidra Avoy Matarin, Kach Shvois Avoy Matarin, not according to our Girsa, but according to the Girsa the Ran has. And the Gemara, and we'll discuss that how Shavua is considered similar to the case of that of Neder. So again, the current daf on the second to the bottom line of Chav Gimel and Beis, we had mentioned in our previous Mishnah, he says also, he says if someone wants to be, he wants that his friend should eat by him, and he's pressing him, and that's included in the category of Nidri Zeruzin. Again, he didn't have in mind to really make him take a neder. He just trying to motivate and says, you know what, you don't go to Shabbos, so I'm gonna. And the guy says, come. If he doesn't come, of course he didn't mean to make him a neder. So the Gemara has the following question. This is in the first wide lines. Ibaylo is the following question. Do the Rabbanan disagree with his halacha? That when you're pressing your friend to eat by you and you say, hey, you know what, if you don't come, I'm going to make him forbidden anything of my stuff. That it's that in Nidri Zeruzin, or not? What's the question? The way the Rand explains is that what you could be in doubt about is, maybe would we find that Rabbanan, everyone agrees to the category of Nidri Zeruzin, it's one of the four cases. But maybe would they agree that it's considered just to motivate him? That's when the case we said in the prior Mishnah of a seller and a buyer. Why? As we've already described a few times in the past, their mouth and their hearts were not equal. Meaning, even in the beginning, the seller and the buyer didn't really mean, I'm not going less than 4, and he's like, I'm not going more than 2. They didn't really mean that. They both wanted 3. The only thing what they were doing was they were just trying to show, you know what, you're not going to pull a fast one on me. I'm not going to the price that you want. But he didn't really mean it. So, okay, they were having a great Nidri Zeruzin. But when the guy's taking a neder on his friend because he wants him to eat by him, you could say that maybe b'dafku madirai, you could say that maybe he really wants to take a neder. He's really upset about this. And he means it. Or do we say that no, the Rabbanan would agree and they hold that it's la b'dafku madirai, and therefore they would agree to Nidri Zeruzin. That's the question. That's question number 1. Now the Gemara says, and if you say that they do disagree, and they hold, no, it's not a case of Nidri Zeruzin. No, the guy really means it. The guy says, you don't come, that's it. You know, kiss my food goodbye, you're not going to have anything to do with me anymore. And he means it. It's not like they're selling the buy that we know they wanted 3. And if they do disagree, does they follow like Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg? That no, it's not going to be a valid neder because it is Nidri Zeruzin, or maybe the halacha is not like him. The halacha would be like the Rabbanan disagree, and there would be a valid neder. That's the 2 parts to the Gemara's question. It says Gemara Tosh wants to be a raya of a Mishnah that's not on Daf Samach Gimel Amud Beis. The Mishnah says, if someone says to his friend, as a contain top of Chav Dal Medal, says to him, look, kainim she'eini neder, says, I'm taking a neder vow, then I'm not going to have any benefit from you. How does that you can't really read that, so the Ran explains it means, kainim is the issa of hana on the object that I will have benefit from you. That chefza, because again, kainim is in the chefza, you can't say eini neder, that's a shvua. It means to say that there's whatever I'm going to have enough from you, there's a kainim on that chefza. Why is he saying he's going to make an isser neder on the guy's stuff? If you don't take for your son, I have a huge sale going on, and I want to give your son kudah shel chitim, a kur of wheat, 2 barrels of wine. If you don't take for your son from this stuff, then you know what? I'm not going to have any enough from you forever. So what's the halacha, says the Mishnah? This guy can permit his own neder without going to the Talmud Chacham, without going to a sage to permit it. Why? Because his friend could tell him, wait a second. Why did you say this? Because of my honor. That I should be honored in front of the people. They should see that I'm honorable in your eyes, that you want to give me such a big gift. And you said, Heschel, you don't come to take from this sale I'm having for your son. That's it. I'm not going to have any more enough from you at all. You obviously did it because you wanted to show me honor, to say, I love you so much. I want you to get this gift from me. Says the friend can tell him, Zeu kavaydi. This is my honor. I'm more honored when they see that you want to give me and I don't want to take. So that's my honor. That, says the Mishnah on Daf Samachim Beis, is why the guy can be matir the neder on his own. Okay, what's the Gemara is proving from over here? Time of the Amar, the reason is because the friend would say, Zeu kavaydi, this is my honor. Wait a second, halav hachi. But if the guy wouldn't be able to say such a thing, if he wouldn't say such a word, nederhu, it would be considered as a neder, meaning this guy who's telling his friend, you don't take this for your son, that's it, I'm not having I'm making it a neder on all your stuff for me. It sounds like it would be a neder. Mani, who's that like? That would be difficult. Because even if the friend wouldn't say this is a greater honor for me that I'm not taking, it should be batal, because this is the case of our Mishnah. Where the guy is saying he wants trying to motivate his friend to come over and get for his son a package. And you don't need to be matur such a neder. It's automatically permitted. It's not a neder in the first place. L'shma minah, rather what can we infer from that Mishnah? That who is the Tana? It's pligi Rabban Aleha. The Rabbanan disagree. They hold it's not considered neder zuzin. And therefore, we see that these disagree. Okay, but now that the guy can say, this is my honor, okay, that's a way of being matur. But without that, it would be a neder, because they don't agree that trying to get your friend to eat is just a motivator and not a full-fledged neder. Says the Gemara, no. La'olam, truth, I can tell you that it's even Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov. It could even be going like Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov. How could it be going like Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov? Isn't this the same case that he said in our Mishnah, like on Nidre's reason, trying to get your friend to do something, to come over to eat? No, because the Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov, Bahai, in this case he agrees, the Nidra Hava, that it would be a neder, even he would hold that would be the case. Why? Because the Amalei, the one who's taking a neder, is going to tell the guy who he wants his son to come over and get all the packages that he wants to give him, like Kalbana, I'm not a dog, that I'm going to have pleasure from you, and you don't have pleasure from me right now. I mean to say, I'm not a hund. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just take. Kalba is always the have. It's always taking and not giving. So he essentially he's saying that you're right. Generally, it's not going to be a neder because I'm trying to motivate you to come. Here, the neder is, how did he phrase it? He said, not that you're going to be asa b'hana on me if you don't come now. I'm going to be asa b'hana from you if you don't come. What he was trying to say is that, okay, I'm not taking from you anymore. If you don't come and take from me, I don't want to be just a taker. I'm not just a dog, I want to be a giver too. So, therefore, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov would agree that this is a valid neder. It's not just motivating him. If it's just a guy, like in the wording of our Mishnah, if you don't come, that's it, you're never going to be able to take from me ever again. That was the wording of our Mishnah. Okay, that's obviously just really wanting to come. What you say, if he doesn't come for a Shabbos, so that don't come ever again. But you mean you want to give him, and then you say you're threatening if he doesn't come, he's never. You like him or not? Obviously, you just want to motivate him to come. But here, that's not what he said. He said, if you don't come and get for your son some of these packages, then I'm not going to have enough from you ever again. Oh, that makes sense. That the person would make such a neder. Why? Because I don't want to be just a taker. I want to be a giver too. So if you're not taking from me, I'm not taking from you. That's not just motivating. That the guy means it for real. I don't want to be just a taker. As the Ran explains, he says, here it's appropriate to say this because the one who's inviting is making forbidden on himself the properties of the one he's inviting. There you could say that Daf could come, that he really means what he's saying. He doesn't want to have enough from the guy ever again, unless he accepts from him also right now this one core of wheat, etc. Because I'm not a dog. But in the case of the Mishnah, how could you say that? The one who's inviting is not forbidding that guy's stuff on him. To the contrary, he's making his stuff forbidden on the one he's inviting. If he doesn't take from him right now, what do you mean? But you like him. You want to even invite him as a Shabbos guest. We're not talking about the selfish guys who want you as a guest because how he feels good. We're talking about genuine people that want to have you to give you, and therefore you wouldn't, when you're making it forbidden now, why would you do that? Obviously you're trying to motivate him. The Ram says another pshat others want to say is because over here he wants to give him a large gift. So it sounds like that because the other guy had done a favor for him, because if not, he wouldn't have given him this gift. So therefore that's where it's applicable to say, you keep on giving me, I want to be able to give you also. But in the Mishnah, it's not obvious like that his friend had done an envy for him, and he could invite him as a Shabbos gift even if he didn't do anything for him. So therefore, maybe it could be his reason. Whereas over here, it's obvious that he really means what he's saying, and therefore, this is not a raya from this Mishnah that we have that the Rabbanan disagree with Rabbi Yaakov and say who's the Talmud Mishnah. Even Rabbi Yaakov himself would hold that this would be a valid neder and not just a neder's reason. Okay, Toshma. Let's bring another raya from that same Mishnah. There it says then the inverse almost, the flip. The other way around. Someone says to his friend, Koinim, making an Isra of a neder, sha'at and endlessly from anything for you to be able to have enough for me. I mean, you cannot have enough for me. If you don't give my son, this is the other way around. The first case was, I'm going to be forbidden to you if you don't take from me. Here's the other way around. You're going to be forbidden from me. If you don't give my son kur shalchitin, a core of wheat, and 2 barrels of wine. You have this whole thing going on, this whole operation. The least you could do is give my son. If you don't give my son, then you can't have ana anymore from my stuff. So he says it can be forbidden achiyitin. Yeah, you have to give it, and if that's a valid neder. The sages they say no. Here also you can permit the neder without a sage. Why? Because the one who took the vow could say, it's as if I received it, which the Gemara in Gittin Daf Ayin Dalma Beis explains that the reason is because his whole intent was that he wants to gain. You're giving out, you have this wholesale, whatever. You can't give my son 1 core of wheat or whatever. He's trying to get a gain. Now he could say, I don't need it anymore. He could say, as if I received it. So therefore, that would nullify the vow, because the whole point of the vow was, if you don't give me, that's it. You're not going to see another dime from me. Since the guy could say, oh, it's like I already got it already, and the whole point is of a gain, and you could say, I already got that gain, which the Ran explains is specifically if his son that he wanted that guy to give to is what's called samach al shulchanai. He's part of the household. In such a case, you could say that his intention was for his gain, that he doesn't want to have to spend for their purposes. I have a friend in the garment business, and you're giving out for free things. The least you could do is give to my son. We're old friends. If not, you're not going to see anything from me. So, in this case, he says that this person is the father's gain. But if he said, let's say the sons were not semech al shulchan avim, it would be the opposite. But then his intention would be for their gain, and then it's only when the sons would say, like as if we received, that would be mata the neder. If the father would say it, that wouldn't have any validity. Moreover, the Rashba writes that it's specifically by a kiyum maisa where you could say, okay, kilus kabalt is like as if I received it, because that since even if he would receive it, he could give it back to the guy. So now also it's like as if I received it and I give it back to you, because like we had this terminology once before, why do I need to switch the bags from one shoulder to the other shoulder if they're both the same weight? So like I could say as if I received it, but by nullifying an action, for example, let's say where he says, my properties are forbidden on you if you go to such and such a place, you can't say that as if he's telling him, oh, it's as if you didn't go, because that's not possible. The guy did go. But the Ram brings that those who disagree on this, and they hold even in such a situation, you could say that, because that Tanai itself he only said from the beginning, only because that was what he wanted, that he wanted he shouldn't go. Now he could say it's as if it doesn't bother me if he goes or not. It's as if, it's like, I could say like as if I was okay with that also. So it's a discussion about how far does this, phrase of kilus kabalti. But that's not the main thing we even want from this. But says the Gemara, okay, that's the Mishnah of the Seif over there in that same Samach Gimel. But it sounds like time with the Amar, the reason why, even the Chacham, Remeir says yes, it's a neder until you actually give it, it's a valid neder. Even the Chachamim who say that no, you can be matin the neder without a Chacham, okay, time with the Amar, it's only because the guy could say, Harini Kilis Kabalti is like as if I received it, and therefore you're not going to be forbidden on my stuff, even though you didn't give it to my son, it's like, okay, as if I received it. Halavachin neder, it sounds like if not for that, it would be a neder. Mani, who's the time of the Mishnah, who's the Chachamim, Iblis and Yaakov, what do you mean? This is the neder of motivation, where it's trying to motivate someone to do something. So obviously you don't mean the neder, so why do you even need to be mattered on your own? It's not even a neder. Obviously it's Rabbanan and Pligi, it's the Rabbanan, and they disagree and they hold that it's not a case of neder when you're trying to motivate your friend to give or to come or to take or to come, whatever this and that. That's not neder. Because like we said, neder would be by moicher and lekach, where they never had that in mind in the first place. But here, maybe Taka meant it, and you see Rabban disagree. Says the Gemara, no, it's not a raya. I could say that the Mishnah would even be the Chacham like Rabbi Yaakov. Rabbi agrees in such a case, that it would be another. Why? Because he's telling him this is the opposite of the inverse of the first case. Lav Malkam, I'm not finished. I'm not a king. I'm going to give you pleasure, but you're not going to give to me. So the exact opposite means to say a guy doesn't want to be a dog, only a taker, and doesn't want to be just a king. I'm not just like, I won't come and you could take my ties and my suits and my cars and whatever this and that, and you don't give me anything. I don't want any of that. So that would be v'davka nada. And therefore, it's not just your regular nidjei's reason, which is just a guy coming over for a meal or this and that. That could be just trying to motivate him. But over here, where you see from the case, the way he said it, it's like, if you don't give my son, then I'm not giving you, is because I'm not just a finish I came. So again, Rabbi Shloimy would agree in such a case. So the Gemara continues, normally Mark Shisha Bered of Chizal Rashi says, Tosh Matzvig a Raya from Mishnah Daf Chavzayin and Aleph. Mishnah says, Nidre Ointzin. What's considered one of the four categories of what's not considered a neder of this parak of Haba and Nadarim is Nidre Ointzin, something beyond the person's control. So the Mishnah there describes, as we'll see in a few dafim, what's this case of oinis that's not a neder? So let's say a person makes a neder on his friend to make sure he eats by him. Meaning he says, if you don't come for my event that I'm making, that's it. Charlie, goodbye. I don't want to see you. You can't have any hana from any of my stuff anymore. So the guy knows he has to be there on the December 2nd. He knows he's going to be there. But the guy gets sick. Her son gets sick. Or what happens is he's by the river and the last boat leaves and he can't get to the event. So that's what the Mishnah says. Those are considered nidri oinsin, and it's beyond the guy's control. And in such a circumstance, a guy would never have made such a neder to make his. He didn't realize the guy's son's going to get sick. Of course, he would never. It's okay. The guy is not forbidden in this guy's stuff. Now, sounds like the reason is because he became sick or his son or whatever. Halavachi. But if not for that circumstance, nederhu. This situation where he's inviting him to come to a party, and he says if you don't come, you'll be forbidden. It's only because of the oinus. That's why it's not a neder. But it sounds like if he wasn't sick, it would be a neder. Mani puts the time to that Mishnah. It was Miyakov, but it means zeruzin. Forget about the oinus part. It's a zeruzin situation. You're trying to motivate your friend to come to the event. And he would told you wouldn't have to be matter the neder even. And love Rabbanan, obviously Rabbanan upligi, and they disagree. So you see that there are Chacham who disagree with Rabbi Yaakov's halacha. Says Gemara, no. La'olam that Rabbi Yaakov. It's Rabbi Yaakov. Because explains the Gemara, do you think, as we thought, the Adre Mezamna Lezmina? That the host was inviting the guest? No. Tizmina Adre Lemezamna. The one who took the neder was the guest making a neder on the host. In other words, it's not like you thought that the host was making a neder on the guest, because no, the truth is, if that was the case, then you're right. Even without oinus, it wouldn't be a neder, because that's nidrei zizim. That's just trying to motivate the guest to come. No, it's talking about where the guest took a neder on the host. In other words, upon the request of the guest, that rhymes, is all that rhymes, that he made a neder on the host. Damale, he said to him, Mizamnis lila sudasach. Says, yeah, you always have beautiful Shabbos sudas. You never invite me to your suda. Amalayan says, okay, no problem. I'll invite you. So he says to him, Neder ze olecha. This neder is on you. In other words, I want you to make your property, your money forbidden on me, or mine on, or either yours on me or mine on you, whichever way, if you don't do this. If you don't invite me to come. And another. And the guest, the host, takes it such a neder, and b'chalahu. Then the guest becomes sick. Or some becomes sick. Or the river holds him back. That's considered where we have to come on to the heter of the fact that there was an oinus in the neder. Oh, therefore, yeah, because it becomes sick. If not, it would be a neder. Why not? Because you can't say you can't say that his intention was to motivate him, because he didn't have to motivate him. To the contrary, he made the request that he should come. So the host doesn't have to be mazarzim. The one who's making the neder is the guest. And therefore, there's no motivation over here. The motivation would only be, I want you to come. When you come, I'm the one that's making you take the neder. So obviously, it's going to be a valid neder, and it's only going to be ois neder, not only be a non-neder, if you have the element of oinus.
The Ram has a different verse over here?
Where, on which point?
The Gemara says Mizamnisli.
Oh, the Omaloi lo mezamnisli. Which is minus udosach.
Maybe it's Roshon B'Tzmi.
Yeah, I don't know. In Kalima Ikin. Yeah, right, because he says in Kalima Ikin as, yeah. He says, yes, I'll invite you. Yes, you have to know what seems like a different wording. Omaloi loy, or he says to him, no, mezamnisli. You have to know how to read that. So it says Toshima. He says, let's bring another raya. So we have yet to bring a raya that the Chacham disagree with Elazar ben Yaakov or not. It says from the following brisa. Yes, okay, more than this. Elazar ben Yaakov says, if someone says to his friend, says, I take a neder that if I'm going to have any benefit from you, if you don't stay the night by me, and you eat with me some hot bread, and you have a nice hot cup of coffee with me. Another guy was particular, and he was refusing. Says the Braysath Elo Neder Zuzim. These are also considered a neder of motivation. So the Ram explains here where it says Yeser al Kain, where the Braysath started with saying more than this, is because over here, even though you could say that I'm not a dog, because this is exactly the case that we described, where he's making forbidden pleasure of the guest on himself, if the guest doesn't want to accept from him, and therefore you might have thought to say, as we actually explained previously, that maybe he was bedavka taking that, and not just to motivate him. In other words, this raya is explicitly coming. This is going to be the raya that we see. We originally had attempted to make a raya from one of the Mishnayos that you see that the Chacham disagree with Elazar ben Yaakov because it's a nidrei zruzin, and still they hold it's going to be val neder here. And we said no, it's Elazar ben Yaakov. Elazar ben Yaakov agrees that it's going to be a neder because listen to the words that he says. He says, if you don't come to me, you can't have benefit from me. So we said, why? Because I don't want to be a dog. I don't want to just take and you don't take from me. So that's where the Brisa starts with Yesar came, more than this, said Elazar ben Yaakov, even in such a case where the wording is, if you don't come to me, then I'm not taking from you. Even so, Elazar ben Yaakov says it's a nidrei. Oh, according to this interpretation, we see over here that what we had previously rejected, and we said that even Elazar ben Yaakov would agree, wherever you could say I'm not a dog, that we see obviously that was just a dichui ba'alma, and obviously that was not true, because we see over here that he holds it is considered nidri zruzin, even when it's like, if you don't take from me, I'm not taking from you, and still he holds it's a nidri zruzin. And the Chacham did not agree to him. They didn't hold that that's considered a non-neder. They hold that it is a neder. But what does it mean? What does it mean that the Chacham don't agree to him? Lav isn't it as a getintam beis that filled by kamaisa. Now, what's important to understand is that this case itself, if the Chachamim would hold it's a non-neder, you could say they would hold it's a non-neder because, I don't want to be a dog. But that wouldn't tell us necessarily that they would agree to him in the case of our Mishnah, when you don't have the svara of I'm not a dog. Maybe over there they would not agree, and they, meaning to say that, what do we say, lo hoyle chachamim? Not only do they not agree to him over here, they don't agree to him in the case of the Mishnah too, and they hold that even there, we don't have the svara of not being a dog, that even over there, right, you understand, there's two cases that we have. There's one of a regular zruzin, which is just trying to motivate someone. And then you have, besides the motivation, you also have the idea of maybe even if I hold a case that it would be zruzin, but there are cases that I would say that, okay, here it's not just zruzin because I'm not a dog. And so therefore I mean it this time. Even though sometimes I don't just mean it, here I mean it. You could say that. So we're saying the Rabban disagree on this brisa. What's the case of the brisa? The case of the brisa is where the guy really is in a situation of not wanting to be like a dog. So we see Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg says even in that case, there's nidri zruzin, and the Chum are disagreeing in that case. They're saying, no, that's not zruzin. That's the guy says it minus erens because he doesn't want to be a dog. But the Gemara is saying when the Chum are disagreeing, aren't we saying also that they disagree even in the first case, meaning the case of our Mishnah, where even over there, you don't have a svar why you should say it should be dafka nadar. You could say maybe that would be just trying to motivate him to come to a Shabbos Suda. Even over there they disagree and they behold that it would be a neder. Ushma mina, we see from this plea Rabban Alao. Says the Gemara, Shma mina. That you see the Chum disagree even in the halacha of the Mishnah. Now, the Ran on Amud Aleph, on the last line, has a girsa that the Gemara rejects this and says, Loi, but basraisa. No, it's only by the last case that Rabban disagree, which is the case of the Brisa. But the first case, the case of the Mishnah, no, they would agree that would be nidri zruzin because here it's different in the last case, like the Rosh explains, because since he says shani nen alach, that's Rabban disagree because he wants to tell I'm not a dog. But in the case of the Mishnah, where it's not tit for tat, where it's like if you don't come, you can never come. What do you mean? You like the guy, you want to become a Suda, why you want to make him forbidden forever? That's just nidri zruzin. They would agree over there. But he says there are some nischos that have the gears like we have it. But it would be hard to understand why wouldn't you be deicha? Why wouldn't you have like the gears of the Ran? That is what's the riot? And maybe they disagree in the case of the dog, but who said they would disagree in the case of when there's no such svara of dog? Why wouldn't they agree that you're just trying to motivate him? So that would depend on these two different nischos. But the Gemara says, okay, my havala. So what's the conclusion? Which Taisus over here explains. What do you mean? You just explained that the Rabbanan disagree according to the Girsa that we just said. So meaning to say that they disagree even on the first case, the case of the Mishnah. So therefore, says Taisus that the Gemara's question is halacha kabbalas miyakmanah, meaning we're asking regarding the second point. We first wanted to know do the Rabbanan disagree with kabbalas miyakmanah, and then we want to know if they disagree, who does halacha follow? Like that's the Gemara's question. My halacha. Gemara says Tashmat's being a raya daman avuna. And it says clearly that halacha is kabbalas ben Yaakov. Halacha follows kabbalas ben Yaakov. So what does that mean? What's the raya? So the Ran explains. He says again there were two different gersois, but according to the first gersa that he had, in other words, that they knew from tradition that Rav Huna was even going on the first halacha, the halacha of our Mishnah, that he was establishing halachas like Kabbalas ben Yaakov. And he says you have to say this, because if not, what would be obvious from Rav Huna that the Rabbanan disagree? Maybe it's only on the second case that Rav Huna is saying the halacha is like Kabbalas ben Yaakov. And how would you know that's even on the halacha of our Mishnah? So you have to say that they had a tradition like that. That's what he says he heard from his Rebbein. But the Ran says what it appears in my eyes is that you don't have to come on to that. It says rather in the beginning when we had the question if the Rabbanan disagree on Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg or not, was to know what the halacha is. In other words, do they disagree on him, and maybe that we don't hold like him because it's Yachid V'Rab Halacha Kirabim, as we conclude with the Gemara's question that if you say they disagree, halacha is like him or not. But now that Rav Huna is established and halacha is like Rabbi ben Yaakov with what Rabbanan disagree on him, then even if you're going to say that it's going on the Brisa, but on the Mishnah, Rabbanan agreed to him, it wouldn't make a difference to us. Additionally, he says that since Rav Huna says without specifying halacha like Rabbi ben Yaakov, it sounds like it's going on the Mishnah. Why? Because the Mishnah was fluent by everyone, not a brisa. And if you're saying halacha Rabbi ben Yaakov, you must mean something that everyone knows what we're talking about, which is the Mishnayos, not the brises. And therefore, that would even be on the first case, that even that would be considered as a nidrejuzin, even though there's no, I don't want to be a dog, and that's also considered like a nidrejuzin. I mean, that case is the case that we're saying that the Rabbanan disagree on that case too, and that we're saying that halacha is like him. So it's on both ways that we say that halacha is like Rabbi ben Yaakov. Now we continue with the halacha, the next Mishnah, which is the next category of nidre havai, of these Nedarim that are exaggerations, that are things that are not what he means to say. The nidre havai is Amar Kainim. Let's say the guy says, I take an Isra of Neder, if I didn't see on this road, the amount of Jews that left Egypt, which is 600,000 men, 3 million people. Or he says, if I didn't see a snake like the beam of the pressing house, which the Ran says that there's two ideas over here that the Tana, the Mishnah, is trying to tell us. There's two types of cases. One that can be considered true because it's a commonly used exaggeration of the truth, which that's the case of I saw Jews like Oila Mitzrah. I saw people like the amount that left Egypt over here. Because it's normal for people that when they see a lot of people, they say Havai, they say an exaggeration, and they say, oh, there's mamish like the amount that left Egypt. That's how people talk. But then you have another category. One that's not really applicable to exaggerate. Like the case of the Nachash Kekeres Beis Abad, like a snake like the beam of the olive press, because the Gemara is going to explain, it doesn't mean it was a large snake like the size of a beam. Rather, it means that it was ridged like the beam is, which that's not appropriate to say like an exaggeration, because this ridging that the beam has, no snake has at all. So it's not like an exaggeration, it's just a pet. It's just a false statement. So the Tana is coming to tell us that when you make the prohibition of the payers dependent on any one of these two cases, the ned is going to be bottled, but everyone has a very different reasoning. When you say, I'm taking a neder of payers that it's going to be forbidden on me, if I didn't see like the amount of Jews that left Egypt here on this road, on this street, so the truth is that it's not going to be forbidden on him because he's actually saying the truth. He's saying the truth. Yes, why is he saying the truth? Because since he saw so many people on this road, people exaggerate like that, so that's what he means to say. And therefore, it's true what he's saying, so therefore it's not forbidden on him. And when he says, if I didn't see a snake, like this, like the beam of the olive press, the payers are also going to be permitted, but for a very different reason. Because here, actually, even though he's obviously lying, because no snake has those ridges, that even as an exaggeration it's not appropriate to say that, even so the payers are going to be mutter. Why? Because we evaluate this guy's intention. Obviously, he was not trying to make the payers forbidden on himself. If he really wanted to make the payers forbidden on himself, then he wouldn't have made it depend his isser on this condition. He would have just said, all the payers in the world are forbidden on me. Because even when he makes this stipulation, it has no relevance. It's obvious that he didn't see such a snake, where there's no difference between if he would just make it forbidden unspecific to making it stipulated on this, that having seen such a snake. Rather, obviously we say that he's not trying to make the payers forbidden on him. He's just trying to say these foolish things. In other words, that I saw a snake that has ridges like the beam, and he's just trying to prove his lie, and therefore he's making a neder in the kind, but it's obvious that he's not trying to take such a neder. So those are two very different reasons for why these are considered neder havai, and that is not going to be considered as a valid neder. Now the Gemara explains that Tana Lit in the Brisa, Nidre Havoy Mutar. These a Neder of Havoy are permitted. Shvuas Havoy Asurim. Now that's the Girsa we have in our Gemara, but we're not going to be going with that Girsa. The Girsa of the Ran is that Shvuas Havoy are Mutaris. In other words, the periods are permitted for the same reason that we explained in the Mishnah. However, the Ran does contrast this with a Sugya and Shvuas of Chavtes and Alf, and he says that by something that's not appropriate to have any exaggeration, for example, a camel flying in the air, or the Nachash Kakaris Beis Abad, if you make the Isra pairs dependent on that, he would get lashes for a Shvur Shav, for an oath in vain, because he's obviously not coming to make the pairs forbidden, like we said, and rather, obviously, he's just saying the oath in vain. To say he saw such a thing, that, what's what the Mishnah Shvuas teaches over there, that such a case we get lashes for a Shvur Shav, which is not the case by Nedarim, because Nidre Shav, there's no Malchus. Only by Shvur Shav would you get Malchus. But the Gemara asks, okay, Hechadam Shvuas Havai. When you're telling me that the same heter of Nidre Havai applies to Shvuas Havai, what's the case of Shvuas Havai? So the Gemara just wants to understand technically. If you think it's to say where he says like the wording of the Nidre Havai, and you just switch it with the word Shvua, I swear, and when I didn't see the amount of Jews that left Egypt on this road. So the Gemara asks, Midam Kamar? Is he saying anything? According to the Girs of the Ran, it's Hariyatza Shvula Sheker. What do you mean? He said an oath in vain as a lie. The Ran explains what that means to say is that the wording has no understanding. Lasheker is not precise. It just means to say it doesn't mean anything. It's like a Tanai without a Shvua. What you swore if you didn't see? No, Amabai says no. The Amawi says Shvua Shirisi. I swore that I did see. Because Abaya holds, according to the way he's explaining it, that when the Brisa says, so too Shvuas Havai Mutaris, it's not going on all the cases of the Mishnah. By something that it's not appropriate to have any exaggeration, like the case of the Nachash, like I saw it ridged like the beam, you can't say that a Shvu would be permitted because that's definitely a false oath. And you can't say that still the pairs are going to be permitted because according to Abayam, it's not talking about a case of like the Neder, of stipulating a prohibition of pairs on it. Rather, according to Abayam, the case of the Bryce is saying that just like Nidre Havai permitted, so to a Shvuas Havai of exaggeration is permitted. Because you don't say that since a Shvu is Chamer, a guy would never exaggerate and he means exactly what he's swearing and he's going to get lashed of a Shvu Shav. And that's why by saying no. The Bryce is coming to tell us that rather a person would exaggerate even by oaths, just like he exaggerates by the dark. So he's saying, I swear that I saw this amount of people. Such a swear would be mutaris. It wouldn't be. You wouldn't get. It's not shvur shav. People exaggerate, and then he's exaggerating. I swore. Amali Rabbi says, however, if that's the case, first of all, lamali lamed. Why do I need to say this? In other words, if it's going on something only on the case of our Mishnah that it's appropriate to have an exaggeration, obviously by shvur it would be permitted because since people exaggerate and they speak like this, he's saying the truth. I swear you don't understand what I saw here. Mama's like the amount that left Egypt. That's not true, but okay, you're saying the truth because that's how people speak. So that hyperbolic terminology would not be a shvur shav. So that's obvious, first of all, asked Rabbi. Moreover, the Bride seems to be equating shame, just like Nidre Havai Amortars, so to Shvuas Havai Mutars. In other words, just like Nidrim Nedarim are permitted in all the two cases of the Mishnah, it sounds like, so to the Shvuas are permitted in the two cases themselves. Now, if it's the way you're saying, Abai, that I swear I did see, because there's no other Pedus alai, like we said by Nedarim, so then it can't be that it would be permitted in the case of like I swear I saw a snake like the ridge of the beam of the olive press, or like similar cases, because that's something that you don't have any exaggeration for. So that's for sure shvur shav. The guy's lying. So why would that not be an issue that he's violating? Rabbi says, and the girsa that some Gemaras bring down on the side is that la'olam, truthfully, by where it's talking about shvua im loyrisi. I swear that if I didn't see, what does that mean? Because didn't Ravam say the name of Rabbi? If a guy says Yesser Paris Oilam Alai, all the Paris of the world should be forbidden on me. Im Einam Shabei Samelch, if this is not belonging to the king. It's the same thing over here. With Ba'ima, the guy says, now back to the Girs of Agamar, Yasser Paris Oilam Alai B'Shvur. He says, let all the Paris of the world be forbidden on me, with an oath. Im Loi Re'isi, so there's more to the case. He's keeping the case that we said of Im Loi Re'isi, not Re'isi. Because to swear if I didn't see, that doesn't make sense. It's only if there's a Tanai with that. So Abai said, no, he swear I did see. No, Rabbi is saying no, it's Imlei Re'isi. And is another part to it. All the pairs of the world should be forbidden on me with an oath. Imlei Re'isi, if I didn't see on this road like those amount of people that left Egypt. In other words, just like we learned over there later on in the Mishnah of Chav Chesem and Aleph, that also by oath, the guy is not so stringent to make the pairs in the world unforbidden him, like we'll say later on. Here also, it's where he says, all the pairs of the world should be forbidden. I mean, oath, if I didn't see, in other words, it's going on all the cases of the Mishnah. So that answers Rabbi's question, and it's similar to the case of Nadarim. And the chiddush of the case of the snake, like the curse by Sabbat, is, you would have thought to say, that although by vows we say, that it's a final point that Duran's saying, that the pairs are mutter, because over there, that even though the guy's not intending to make the pairs forbidden, he's not getting a lashes for saying a lie, because a neder shav is not something that you have. So therefore, it makes sense that you could say that, yeah, he's not intending to make the pairs forbidden on him. But by shvuah, if he's not having in mind to make the pairs forbidden on him, it says he get lashes for shvuah shav. So you would have thought to say that for sure he's coming to say the pairs are forbidden on him, so that he shouldn't get malchus for shvuah shav. Kamash malan, that even by shvuah we rely on this reasoning that we read in the Mishnah, that if his intention was to say that the pairs were forbidden on him, he wouldn't have made it dependent on such a stipulation, which is not even effective. So that's what we're saying, that yeah, he might get lashed of a shvuah shav, but the pairs are not going to be forbidden on him, because it's a shvuah's havai, just like you'll have by nidra havai. But the Gemara has a question, which this is also cryptic and there's many interpretations of Rabbi Shloimy. Lervinu Rav Ashi says, what do you mean? Maybe this person, maybe saw an ant hole, and and he called them those who left Egypt. I mean, there for B'Shabbat Mishtabeya, and maybe Hitaka swore appropriately. So, according to our interpretation, the Gemara's question is, so what's the chiddush? In other words, that it's not a guzma, it's not an exaggeration. Hitaka is saying, if I didn't see, and I did see, because he's calling the ants Oil Mitzrayim. Just the Gemara answers, Amalei, no. As we continue to Chafayim and Aleph, Ki Mishtabeh, when a guy makes an oath, Adai Didam Mishtabeh. He makes the oath based on our understanding. Because even though we don't tell him, swear on our intentions, and the guy doesn't swear what he has in his heart. He swears what most people understand it to mean. We don't call a bunch of ants the Oil Mitzrayim. And that's not normal for people to do. And therefore, you can't say that the guy made a regular shvuah and that it should be valid. No, it's obviously that it is either a guzma, or like Rabbi said, even though it's not a guzma, but it's the other case that we said that obviously it's a lie. And if it's a lie, that's why it's not going to be a valid shvuah. The Rush, first he explains nidra havoi, like the way he argues, in other words, says, it means exaggeration, speaking more than what's necessary. So over here, he's adding on to what he saw, like a person who sees something incredible, and he adds on to say, like people say over stories, they add on a little bit more, and he himself knows that it wasn't as much as he's saying. So therefore, even though he says, Kainim kickers out lie, if I didn't see, like mamish people left Egypt, and the snake that I saw, if it wasn't rich like the Beis Abad, we don't say that for sure that it wasn't like what he's saying, and the net is going to be forbidden him. Rather, we say he himself knows that it wasn't like he said, but that's how people speak. They speak more, but his intention not to make a neder, because that's how people speak. And by the Nadarim, you go after Loshim the other, like the Gemara is going to tell us later on Lamed Beis. But the main thing that we want from the Rush is that he has the gears of Tana Nidra Avon Mataran, but Shvuah Savai are Surin, because the Shvuah is more Chomer. So therefore, we are stringent rabbinically to make it forbidden. And Rabbi's question on Abaya, who said the oath is to say that I saw, so then the question was Imkain Lamali Lamemer. His question is that since he says I swear that I saw, obviously it's going to be Aser. In other words, that even though it's normal for people to call a bunch of people Yetzi Mitzrayim, but still it's going to be forbidden when you make such a shvuah, because shvuah is Chomer. And it's specifically by neder that we would permit when you don't have in mind to make a neder. So Rabbi's question is treated that it's Aser. And also his question was, Dumi de neder getani. In other words, that it sounds like you're making something forbidden on yourself with a shvuah, like by neder, which according to Abai, you're not making anything forbidden on you. So rather, Rabbi had said, it's talking about where he says, Ya'asr peres on malai b'shvuah im loy re'isi, meaning that even though it's normal for people to call many people Oil Mitzrayim, but because of the severity of a shvuah, we are going to say it's going to be forbidden on him. And Ravina's question of Shum Shemani was, he saw many ants and he called them Oil Mitzrayim, and according to him, he's making a valid shvuah, and if he says like this, why would he not be believed? And therefore it should be permitted, and it should not be asr. That's the question according to the Girsah that we have in the Gemara, the way the Rosh explaining. The question on Rava was, wait, why is Rava saying that it's going to be that's not going to be a shvuah because of the way he's interpreting? What do you mean? Why don't you just say that it should be permitted? Why should he not be believed what he's saying? He's saying it's not a guzmo or a lie. For that reason itself, it should be permitted. I think one says no, you can't say that's what he meant to say, because when you take such a shvuah, he means what we mean, and it means other time. It doesn't mean a bunch of ants, and that's why you couldn't say it for that reason. Rather, you have to say again the way Rav explained that it's a case of you asked your parents malai b'shvuah im lo yirizu b'derech hazek l'mitzrayim, and then again he resolved the questions that Abai didn't take care of, and that's the reason why the shvuas havai are going to be again according to whichever gears to either asur in the way the Rosh is saying, or it's going to be meaning. And the Gemara's question was why isn't it mutter? You're saying it's asa, why isn't it mutter? And it says no, you can't say mutter for that reason. Or the Gemara's question was why do you have to say because you're saying that it's mutter because of that? It should be mutter for this. The Gemara's saying no, you can't say because of that. So that question, depending on the gears, is either asking why do you see the need to say mutter for your reason? I can say mutter for this reason, or why are you saying it's aser? It should be mutter. But be that as it may, you can't say such a thing because you make it al daita the dan and not on your own das. Thank you for any time. Those things.